Number 1. The locals warned you about 12 Echoes Cavern. They told you the stories of all the other hikers and explorers who had been lost within it. They told you about the screams that echoed across the desert at night. They told you, in no uncertain terms, to stay away from it. Of course, you didn't listen. Instead, you drove across the desert and trekked up the steep hillside to the entrance of the mysterious 12 Echoes Cavern. Now, standing within it, you can see why the locals were so determined to keep you away. The cavern is a natural wonder, easily the biggest you've ever been in. Your flashlight beam barely illuminates the area in front of you before being swallowed by the darkness of the cave. You can easily see tourists swarming the place, trampling the pristine ground in their rush to get in and out before the gift shop closes. You can't really blame the locals for trying to keep it to themselves. Still, you have to wonder about all the stories you are told. Every legend has a grain of truth to it after all. So you pocket your flashlight, cup your hands around your mouth, and shout a greeting into the darkness of the cavern. The voices that answer you are not your own. Their howls and shrieks merge into a single ear-piercing wail. You fall back in surprise, your flashlight shattering in your pocket. You scramble back towards what you hope is the entrance. Then, just as suddenly as they began, the screams stop. All you can hear is the steady drip of water from the cavern ceiling. You take a deep breath and stand up. Now that your eyes have adjusted to the dark, you can make out the last feeble rays of daylight sinking beyond the horizon. You hurry towards them as your mind races to find a reasonable explanation. Was this some kind of prank by the locals? No. Too elaborate and pointless. It couldn't have been them. It must have been some kind of trick of the brain then. Something about the cavern that could turn one voice into many, that could turn a shouted greeting into a blood-curdling scream. It doesn't sound plausible, but it sounds rational, and that's all you need right now. You're almost to the mouth of the cave, when another voice cries out from deep within. Like the others, it screams in pain and agony. Unlike the other voices, you recognize it. You try to scream, but no sound emerges from your throat. 12 Echoes Cavern screams for you, in a voice that is unmistakably your own. Your screams echo loud and long across the desert. The locals listen and shake their heads. They tried to warn you. Now all they can do is wait for some other traveller to pass through, and hope that they will listen when they tell them to never go near 13 Echoes Cavern. Number 2. Princess Annalise skipped her way into Whimsical Forest, a quaint land of mystery and wonder, where much is to be explored and discovered. The princess traced her hand along a few cherry bushes while humming her favourite tune. The Queen had taught her, and it goes a little something like this.
Young girls with bright cheeks, one day they'll grow strong and taller, exploring the lands of whimsy. Won't you stay a little longer?
In a distance, the princess spotted 2 peasants. They seemed friendly, so the princess gave a wave. The peasants waved back, bowed respectfully, and beckoned her towards them. A gracious lady, the princess was never one to ignore her people, and hence made her way to them. As the little girl came closer, the two men grabbed her by the hands and legs and subdued her. You see, unlike in Annalise's imagination, this is not a fairy tale. This is the real world. There is no whimsical forest, only a beaten playground in a small town north of Idaho. Annalise is no princess, and the two men were professional smugglers. Happily ever after, Annalise, said one of the men, as he covered his hand on her mouth, muffling her strangled screams. Number 3. It was time for a talk. Tom Taylor's son Jeremy was 7 years old and still had an imaginary friend named Beau. Neither Tom nor his wife Sarah thought anything of it when he was younger. Lots of kids in the 3 to 5-year-old bracket have imaginary friends, and that phase usually ends when children start school. Not Jeremy. While they were pretty sure he didn't let on about Beau at school, at home he would spend hours in his room talking to his invisible friend. After doing some research and contacting some online sources, the Taylors felt the time was right to talk about Beau with their son. They had gotten past Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy, and now it was time for Jeremy to move beyond imaginary friends into the real world. Tom and Sarah called Jeremy down from his room, and everyone sat around the kitchen table.
You know, Jeremy,
Tom began,
lots of kids have imaginary friends when they're little. It's perfectly normal. But as they grow older and they make real friends, most kids stop talking to the make-believe ones.
Sarah put her hand on Jeremy's shoulder.
It's not that you're doing anything wrong talking to Beau, but there comes a time when we have to let go of our childhood ways and deal with the real world we all live in. Do you understand what we're saying?
I think so. But what if Beau doesn't want to go?
Tom and Sarah smiled at each other.
Just tell him he needs to go be friends with another little boy, she said. I'm sure he'll understand.
Okay,
he said, not acting entirely convinced.
I'll talk to him.
Jeremy went upstairs, and the two started preparing dinner.
That went better than I thought it would,
said Tom.
Yeah, I'm surprised. We'll see what Beau has to say.
A short while later, they heard Jeremy's familiar footsteps in the stairway. He came into the kitchen to make his announcement.
I talked to Beau, and he's going to leave.
Sarah smiled.
Jeremy, that's great news. And the best thing is, he's taking all of us with him.
What do you mean?
asked Tom, gas fumes suddenly filling his lungs. Hello everyone, SinisterShaf here. I hope you enjoyed this short collection of scary stories. I would like to say a big thank you to the authors of these stories. LurkingHorrorWriter for the story 12 Echoes Cavern. noneedfordrama for the story Tales from Whimsical Forest. And minnboy for the story Beau. Thank you for giving me permission to narrate your stories. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, leave me a comment down below telling me which one of these stories was your favourite. And, as always, stay sinister.